All right. So we're going to go over um, the armbar position here. So just like attacking the armbar. So all the armbar positions that we're going to go over today is just going to be from top. So we're not going to go over like entering the armbar or attacking the armbar from when I'm on bottom and guard, for example. It's just all going to be from the top position. So where we're like crossbody with an armbar. So I'll commentate over about, I think it's like 10 minutes of recorded video of me attacking the armbar, and I'll go over like what I'm thinking, the escape opportunities that my partner has, how I want to untangle the arms, and all that kind of stuff. The armbar position is one of the best submissions in jiu-jitsu, and it's at least one of my favorite, if not my favorite submission. So yeah, let's just start now. So the first round I'm with Zach. So immediately I'm leaning towards the leg side. So anytime I'm attacking the armbar position, I don't want to be sitting on both butt cheeks square to my partner facing them because one, it's harder for me to move. Two, I have less base, so if my partner was to bridge into me and try and stack, I would get folded up because I can't use my legs as well. When I'm on an angle on one hip, now I have better ability now to use both my legs to pummel my legs to different positions or to hold my partner down, as well as since I'm curling my uh, legs across the floor instead of into the floor, I have better ability to bite with my legs onto my partner's body as well. So right now I'm scooping his close leg for Zach to get up to his knees to try and pull out or stack me. He needs to bring his right knee behind him to the other side. So if I have a scoop grip on this leg, he cannot scissor his legs to be able to finish the get up. So he's straightening the leg, which makes it heavy and hard to scoop. So I go to an elbow post instead. And I pummeled my right foot to the far shoulder instead of in the far armpit, which is where I started. So anytime I'm going against somebody with locked hands, my goal, if I can, is to go to the far shoulder instead of the far armpit for a couple of reasons. One big one is against bigger people. Zach's fairly big. He's not huge. He's like 200 pounds. But against big people, when I go to the far shoulder instead of the armpit, I have less of their body inside, which means that I can secure my grips with my legs a little bit better. If I was to keep my foot in the armpit against somebody that has a very big chest and shoulders, my feet kind of float in the air and they're easier for my partner to remove, and they're just not as strong to control my partner with here. The other thing is, I have the ability now to threaten triangle chokes and arm bars at the same time when you're in this position. And lastly, my foot, the foot that was in the armpit that went to the far shoulder, can no longer be trapped inside of my partner's legs now when it's above the shoulder like this. So Zach made a mistake here. Let me just back up a little bit. Right here, look at right here. Look at Zach's grip. So he's got like a ball and socket grip where he has a pushing grip trying to hold his attacked arm. So one, you shouldn't be using pushing grips to try and pull your arm to your chest. And two, because of this, he's got a nice big notch at the very end of the lever of his arm, which is his right arm, for me to attach myself to right here. Boom. So now I got my deadlift against the very end of his bicep curl now, which is an easy battle for me to win here. Good. So again, started with the foot to the armpit, and immediately, since I'm leaning towards the legs, I have the ability to pummel my legs. I pummel right to what's called the three-quarter juji position, where I have the far foot on the far shoulder. So he's changing up his gripping of his arms a little bit here. So right now his arms are kind of overlapping, so it's hard for me to access either arm. So I'm grabbing the top arm to pass it and open up his arms to give access to either arm. Again, he's making the mistake of using that ball and socket grip, where I have a huge notch at the end of his hand now to be able to basically lever his arm open using my deadlift. From here, I took my leg off his face as well. So if Zach does sit up, I'm going to lock a triangle on him. But he keeps his head back down, so I don't lock it. So his legs kind of made me lose my grip on his arm there for a second. So I'm recontrolling the arm again. So right now, Zach is still caught in that triangle position with my legs. So he can't go further towards my head to escape the position here. And if he comes on top, he's going to get triangle choked. So this is one of the most powerful ways to unlock the grips here. So instead of just pulling the two arms apart, basically going my back strength versus their chest strength, I'm going to be twisting the arms apart. So I make a bend in their arm, and then instead of pulling the arms apart, I twist the arms apart. So it's my deadlift versus their shoulder strength, which is a lot easier battle to win. So we're here, and then I unlock the arm, put it over my hip, and then finish the armbar again. So this time, he's a little bit smarter to me pummeling my foot underneath the arm. So he keeps his hands and arms tight to his body here. So actually, if my foot stays where it is right now, he's going to push my foot in between his legs and trap my leg. And then I no longer can keep my legs closed, which loosens up a lot of my control. But knowing this, I'm pulling my right knee to my chest to shallow my leg. So my leg is only like halfway across his body right now. So it's a lot harder for him to trap my entire foot between his legs. Still trying. And eventually I get it out, and immediately, before he tries to trap it again, I cross my ankles. So now the foot that he wants to stuff between my legs is reinforced now by my second leg. The problem with this, though, however, is I have less pressure on his face holding his head down. So I have to be aware of that. And that's why I uncross now. I'm back to having the leg over his face and back to trying to scoop his arm. Scoop his leg. So this is something I like doing here too when I'm in the normal armbar position where I have a leg across the body, leg across the head, is I'll cross my ankles underneath their far arm. This makes it hard for them to turn away to do any kind of hitchhiker escapes. Hitchhiker escape, what I mean by that is basically when my partner unlocks their hands or I unlock their hands and they point their thumb over their shoulder that the arm is on, and then they start turning away from the arm to turn to their knees and get out of the position. So one of the ways to stop them from turning away and even beginning the escape is to cross my ankles under that far shoulder. Another thing that I do to stop the hitchhiker is I'm constantly leaning towards the leg side and turning the thumb towards the legs. So for my partner to turn away to the hitchhiker, they're going to be twisting their own shoulder doing so. So he's trying to use his leg to trap his arm, but he doesn't do it properly. I'm able to pull it out. So this is Nick here. He's very good at the hitchhiker escape. He's explosive big guy. So let me just back it up a little bit here. So when I start with Nick, I immediately lift that far elbow so that I can cross my ankles underneath his far arm, because Nick is very good at exploding and turning away and hitchhiking to get out. And I'm aware of this, so that's why I'm locking the ankles underneath his far arm here. Again, same idea, going to twist the arms apart, but Nick uses that to try and stack and come up. So he knows that with crossed ankles, I can't hold his head down as well because my ankles are crossed, and both my arms are on the one arm trying to separate it, so I have no post. So that's smart in Nick to try and bridge and come on top, but I unlock my my ankles and I cross face him back down here. And then immediately I go to the end of his arm, which is my arm against his wrist. So I'm deadlifting into the end of his arm. He tries to push the legs off. He's walking side to side trying to free himself, but I got too good of a control on the wrist and hand with my hands and pinching my knees so he can't escape. So this is me and Breton. Breton's trying to slip the top leg, so he's trying to slip my left leg off of his face so that he can sit up and turn into me into the top of closed guard. So me leaning towards the leg side, which is towards his legs, angles my knee towards his legs, which makes it harder for him right off the bat to push my leg off his face. Also, if he does manage to get that leg off his face, it will be weightless and I can start pummeling to get my leg back, which we'll talk about later. So again, I'm leaning towards the leg side. He gave me a bit of a bridge there to try and remove that leg. That's why I'm leaning so far to my right towards his leg, so that even when he bridges, I can compensate by leaning, because I don't want him to put me on my left hip where he can trap my leg and remove that cross-face leg. So one little thing too is me having my hand in my pocket here like this and leaning is allowing me to use my body weight to just tire that arm out over time. Something you don't really get to see, but you know it when you feel it. So I feel Breton start trying to trap this foot in between his legs like we talked about before. So I immediately switch to a Kimura grip. So it's a figure 4 grip on that arm. So this allows me to be able to have a little bit longer range with my pummeling of my legs without losing the elbow. Here. So now I have a little bit greater ability to pummel my legs without having that elbow slip out. So he's trying to trap that right foot in between his legs here. But as you see, every time he tries to push it in, I pull my knee out that way and turn my knee out. So it's hard for him to just stuff my entire foot inside there. And I'm using my left foot to intercept. But he removes it. He actually gets my foot trapped here now. So let's just go back here a little bit. So right now, he's got my foot trapped, but he's only got my toes. He doesn't have my heels or my heel trapped here. So when I fall to my right hip, right here, you can see my heel is free. So all I have to do is just kind of pull my toes out to get that leg free. He's also trying to remove my my leg from his face. So anytime somebody's trying to remove the cross-face leg, which is the leg that goes over their face, I'll pummel my foot behind their head, and I'll use my knee to pin their upper body. So then it puts them in a dilemma between having to push that knee off, where I can pummel my calf back over their face, or they're not going to push the knee off, where I can still keep them held down. So he stops pushing the knee, I put the leg back over the face, and I retract my toes. And this time, I cross and triangle my legs over his grips here. So now I'm going to try and break his grips using my legs. And my leg is now not going to get trapped because it's reinforced under the triangle here. So I unlock the triangle because now I threaten the triangle choke. So again, we talked about this with Zach. Let's just back it up just a little bit here. So right now, his head is off the ground, and I noticed that. So anytime their head is off the ground, if I remove the leg that's on his face and put it under his head, if he continues to keep his head in the air, I can lock a triangle choke. So it's a double threat. It's a triangle choke and an armbar threat. Right here, the leg comes off and goes under his head, and then I want to lock my right foot under. Yeah, so now he's in a triangle armbar dilemma, which I catch him in the armbar. So we talked about this again before too. That's such a pretty face right now. That's ridiculous. Anyway, so again, anytime the hands are locked, my favorite position to go to is this position here where I pummel the foot to the far shoulder here. So now he can't trap my ankle. If he tries to slip his head out, I can lock a triangle choke on him. And if they're bigger, I have less of their body inside. So we're here. So I'm kind of edging him, giving him a little bit of space to see if he tries to pop his head up, so I can lock the triangle on him. He hasn't took the bait yet, so I think I actually force it here. And I fell to my side and I lifted his head up. Instead of him sitting up, I lifted his head up by using that arm grip here, and I locked that triangle. So now he's in a dilemma of being choked with my triangle, and if he doesn't defend the triangle, he gives up the arm, vice versa. So if you can ever put them in a triangle armbar dilemma, it's better than just the armbar dilemma, because if you can't unlock the arms, you can still choke them. So again, with Breton here, we're in the normal armbar position. Again, I'm leaning towards the legs, and I'm retracting that foot. And I'm going to be trying to go to the 3/4 juji again, where the foot's on the far armpit. But he's trying to trap my foot as I retract it. There it is. It's in now. So now I'm in that 3/4 juji position. He lifts his head, so I slide right into that triangle position. Now he's in that dilemma once again. I bring myself all the way up to the end of the lever of his arm, and I separate his arms. All right, so now this is me and Jay. So in this, there's a couple clips of me and Jay. Jay likes to use the head slip or stacking a lot. So this is a good clip to show the kind of dilemma of the knee on the chest and throwing the cross-face leg over dilemma that I use. So he's slipped his head right now, as you see. He's trying to get up desperately, but I have his leg scooped, so he's not able to complete that get up because he can't bring his knee out from underneath of himself. So once he gets, I can use my right leg to return him back down by pushing his upper body back down. And when I do so, then I can put him in the dilemma of crossface, which he has now. And then now he removed it, so I put my foot to the inside of his head, and I use my knee to push his upper body down along with my right leg across his chest. Here. So Jay basically has the option of push that knee off so he can sit back up, or not push that knee off where he's not going to get back up, basically. So he decides not to push the knee here, I believe. Oh, no, he does. So I throw the leg back over the face. And then now, since I have the leg over his face, it's going to be extremely hard for him to sit up. So he's going to try and remove it again, likely here. He's locked his arms in a strong rear naked choke grip here. Again, he slips his head, but I scoop the leg. I can keep going back and forth between pushing him down with my knee and pushing him down with my hamstring and calf. And then I separate the arms and finish. So again, we're in the armbar position with Jay. He locks a rear naked choke grip here. So rear naked choke grip is really good when it comes to like the actual strength of the grip. The disadvantage of the rear naked choke for the person defending is the fact that they can't move around as much. So you can't really as easily trap ankles, or you can't hitchhike or escape and stuff like that. So he's the hand-to-hand grip now. So let's just go back and see what happened here. So he's hand to hand. He gets the rear naked choke grip in. And okay. So he had the rear naked choke grip, but I dragged his locking arm across, which exposes his hand that's underneath the choking arm here. And then he never gets to connect his hands back together again. Again, me and Jay. So this is something that I do to test people's grips. So we talked about hanging on the arm and tiring out their grips. Well, as I'm hanging on their arms, if they have a rear naked choke grip, I'm hanging on the arm, and then I just give the far elbow that's locking over this little pop. And sometimes the hands will actually pop right out, like in this situation here. So let's see it again. Either I catch them being lazy, or their grips are just not strong enough, or they're getting tired and they're starting to lose their grip. So you can see here, Jay's right hand is inside his left elbow here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give that elbow a push to open that elbow and pull his right arm out. Right here, boom. So I got the arm out. Jay's trying to slip that leg off his head, but he's unable to, and he gets finished there. So again, against James this time, James tries to sit up, so I use a heavy left leg on his face, grab the end of his arm, and I'm able to extend the arm to get the arm lock. So here's another example of me dragging that locking arm across. So again, James tries to remove the cross-face leg from across his face, so I just pummel my foot to the inside of his head, and I use my knee to pin him down. So as James was doing this, however, he unlocked his hands, so I immediately separate them and don't allow him to connect them back together again here. He tries to use his leg to free it. He's trying to sit up, but I'm able to hold him down with my knee and my leg position, and I submit him. So again, me and James. James tries sitting up, but I'm using a heavy left leg on his face. So me leaning really far to my right onto my elbow, being low, really allows me to have a lot of horsepower in that left leg on his face to hold him down, which I wouldn't have if I was just sitting square on my butt, leaning over my legs. So James is doing something pretty annoying that I actually like doing, is he's unlocked his arms, but he's grabbing inside the pit of his same side knee. So in doing so, he has very good range of motion with the second arm to be able to like remove cross-face legs or stuff legs between his legs. So to counter that, basically I turn his knee. You can't see it in this picture, but I turn his knee in the opposite direction, so across his body, so he doesn't have the pit of elbow to like grab onto. So when he wants to grab onto his right knee, he wants to turn his right knee to the right towards me to get a really strong bite on his wrist. But I'm going to be turning it to his left, so he doesn't have a very good angle to grab underneath of his own leg. Here, so I free his arm out of his leg and then finish the armbar. So again, leaning towards the legs, I pummel right to that 3/4 juji position. And he's got that leg grip again, so I'm going to use my elbow to scrape his foot and turn his knee to the opposite direction he wants to go. I free the arm. He's got hand-to-hand grip again. So James is trying to push my foot to the other side of his body, probably to try and hitchhiker escape. But I use a scissor juji here. So my right foot is under the inside of his neck, and my left foot is on the other side of his body. So he's in a scissor right now. So it stops him from turning away, and it also stops him from dropping his elbow, and it stops him from sitting up as well. So I do feel that because of the fact that my left foot is under his far armpit and he has his hand on my right foot, I do feel like there's more risk of him slipping his elbow to the floor. So I really turn and face his elbow and lay across the ground basically so that he can't drop the elbow to the floor. The angle now to free his elbow is actually out my hips, right? So my hips are behind that arm, which doesn't allow him to free his elbow now. If I was facing the ceiling, he could drop his elbow down to the floor to get out. But now since I'm facing his legs, he has to basically do an upright row to pull his elbow out instead. He's grabbed inside of his leg again to try and use his left arm to untangle some of these grips. He starts grabbing my feet, so I pummel them to the inside of his head here. So this is called a pillow juji because he's like laying on my feet like a pillow. So this pillow juji position, it's not as great at controlling this elbow, but it's extra insurance on stopping him from turning away. And there's not much stopping him from sitting up, so I have a scoop on his leg to stop that. Untangling his arm from inside of his leg. He's using his leg to be annoying. I free the arm and then get the submission. Again, I pummel to 3/4 juji so I can threaten triangles just like this. And now he's in a triangle armbar dilemma. He's trying to remove the triangle, and as he's doing so, I pummel my feet to the inside of his head. And again, because I have that foot on the inside of his head, if he was to try and turn away, he's not going to be able to. He can turn his shoulders, but he can't walk his hips away because for him to turn away to his knees, his head has to go underneath my legs to the other side of my body, which he cannot do because my leg is underneath his head. So he has to tap. So again, we're here. So this time James has his arms in a rear naked choke grip, and his locking arm is under my leg. So it's going to be harder now for me to hold James down because he has that frame on my leg that cross faces him. So again, I pop that elbow. Let me just take a look at this. That locking arm, if I feel like the grip is not super tight or if they're a little bit lazy or if I can catch them off guard, I give that locking arm a little tap on the inside of the elbow to open that elbow and pull the arm out, which is what I do here against James. Boom. So his arm is free, and because James's wrist is under my knee, I'm able to overpower that arm. If James's elbow was underneath that knee, he probably would have had a better chance of pulling his arm out. But unfortunately, I was at the end of his arm instead. So I'm able to extend his arm, control the thumb, and finish him. So again, me and James. So when people lock that rear naked choke grip, another option you have is to bring your leg over their top arm and between the arms to separate them, which is what I was trying to do there, but I failed. So I go to scooping the leg. So for James to get up here, he has to bring his right leg behind him to the other side. So yes, he's slipped his head out from underneath my crossface leg, but he cannot finish the get up because of the scoop on his leg. So what James should be doing is stepping on that. Yeah, there he goes. So he stepped on that arm to remove the scoop on his leg. So when you get good at this, you're not going to just step on it. What you're going to actually do is you're going to straighten your inside leg to basically make their arm farther away so that you have an easier time stepping on that arm to remove it. But James was pretty flexible, so he's able to, and he did a little bit of extending his leg as well to feed it. So now I don't have a scoop on his leg anymore, so I'm going to have to prop on my elbow, but I got the scoop again. So James is going to have to remove that scoop again if he wants to get to his knees here. And this whole time, I'm going to be fighting to get my leg back across his face, which looks like I got back. Okay, and now this time, I'm hugging his hips. So now I'm going to actually drive over and on top of him. So now even if he doesn't have a leg across his face, he's not going to be able to sit up because I'm on top of him now and turning him away here. So now I've got my entire body weight on the side of my hip bone in his diaphragm. So this is really heavy. This sucks. So right now I'm cooking him here. And if James was to try and sit up, it's going to be extremely hard. And he's carrying all of this weight now. And even if he does sit up, I can just go back down to scooping the leg here. So I get the end of his arm, pull it back, and then throw the leg over his head at the same time and finish the armbar. So that's kind of my 10-minute clip of attacking the armbars to kind of give you an idea of like what I'm thinking about while I'm attacking the arms. So in a nutshell, if their hands are connected together, I'm trying to use 3/4 juji usually, where I pummel my foot to the far hip or far shoulder. Sorry. In that position, I can threaten triangles and arm bars, and it's harder for my opponent to escape that position than the normal arm bar position where the foot is in the armpit. If my partner starts trying to sit up, I'm using cross-face legs to pin the head down, and I'm scooping the leg. If I can't keep the cross-face in, then I use my knee to push their upper body down. The hitchhiker basically gets shut down because I'm controlling the thumb and I'm leaning towards the legs all the time. So that automatically is going to take out most hitchhiker escapes because they need the arm above their head and they need to be able to turn their thumb in the proper direction to escape, which is over their shoulder. If they try and hitchhiker with the shoulder down and their thumb pointed towards their legs, they're essentially twisting their own shoulder and they're going to have to stop eventually or hurt their own shoulder. If they are able to kind of free their arm and start turning, then I'll pummel my feet to the inside of their neck so they can't get their head to the other side of the body. But yeah, and then with the stacking escapes, same thing. I use a heavy cross-face leg so they can't sit up, and I lean towards the legs and scoop the legs so they can't stack into me very easily. With the ankle trap, I was using pummeling of my feet to prevent my foot getting trapped in the first place. And then on top of that, I also will reinforce my foot with crossed ankles or triangles or hiding my foot underneath like the far armpit to avoid that. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what I'm doing while I'm attacking arm bars. So this is just like commentary. This isn't like a technical breakdown. I'll eventually do videos of like all these different things on how to actually technically do all this stuff. This is kind of like the idea of my armbar attack system. So